Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of November 18, 2018. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. What an amazing week it is. But before I jump into this week, a couple of things I should mention. Yes, it's amazing. Every week has that great potential to be so amazing for each and every one of us. However, the last 2 weeks, we might have gotten a little bit spoiled because we had so many big things happening back to back to back. We had planets changing signs. We had planets changing directions. And it was unusual for so many celestial happenings to be happening in such a short period of time. And so in that sense, it may not seem as such a big week just yet. However, the way that I understand this week is part of a divine integration and preparation. So what is the preparation? Well, early next week, we are going to have what astrologers like to call the luckiest day of the year. This is the meeting of the Sun and Jupiter in the sky. And so, in some ways, this week is more about a little bit of experimentation, a little bit of getting honest with ourselves about what we really want and what our own fears may be in regards to being able to have those things that we desire, and where our faith truly lies to move us into that direction that would allow us to live our dreams and to live what we feel could be our best life. It is in processing the fears, it is in addressing any resistance, but also in considering where it is that is the path of least resistance, which is part of how the Sun meeting Jupiter likes to work. Well, that's where it is that we are going to find intelligent ways to actually use that energy coming up early next week. Of course, I'll be here to talk about it every step in the way. I'll dive into it much more deeply once we get there. But suffice it to say, as we get towards the very end of this week, the energy will be feeling much more hopeful, much lighter. And if there is something really important that you need to do, whether it is make a phone call or spark up a particular contact or ask for a favor, I would invite you to work with this energy by waiting, if possible. Sometimes it's not so possible, and a week like this would make it hard to wait because we do have Mars particularly active in the sky that can make us impulsive. It can lead us to feel as if change needs to happen right now and not a second later. However, where it is possible and where it is that you can temper what it is that you actually are doing or where it is that we actually are asking for things, well, it would be a good idea, where possible, to wait just a little bit until at least the very end of the week, but more ideally at the very beginning of next week. So that's the time to schedule your appointments, to set up your meetings, and to go do those big things that you are hoping will lend themselves to even bigger results. So let's bring it back to this week. Right around Tuesday, give or take a day on either side, depending on where you are on the planet, we are going to have a conversation between Mars and Jupiter. Mars right now is moving through the sign of Pisces, and of course Jupiter newly in the sign of Sagittarius. Now, both of these signs have to do with faith in a sense. They have to do with belief. They have to do with understanding what it is in a higher sense that is guiding your life, and they can make people somewhat philosophical. The Jupiter in Sag is more inclined towards philosophical, but the Mars in Pisces is an energy that is very much about being inspired and almost feeling as if there's an adrenaline rush that is rooted in belief, rooted in faith, and feeling very plugged into source and very alive as a result. There are, of course, healthy ways to use this energy. There are not so healthy ways to use this energy. Healthy ways to use this energy is to question. When faith is healthy, it questions itself. When faith is healthy, it will wane from time to time. And for some of us, this is going to be some questioning. Is it what I want actually rooted in what I have done before? Or is it that what I am hoping to achieve with this action, well, is this action going to actually be effective? These are wise questions to ask ourselves. Believe in yourself, absolutely. But where it is that you can think about how to best use not only the ability to take action, but also the ability to be honest with ourselves about what it is that feels right to do, what feels on an intuitive level as the way in which we are meant to go, and what it is ultimately that feels like we truly are moving in a direction of greater love and greater wisdom, and not instead guided by other parts of us that have to do with things like ego or operating from a place of needing to prove something because we don't feel like we are enough. This is part of the sacred lesson that is going to appear for a lot of us now, and it is ultimately about leading us towards that Jupiter. Leading us towards early next week when the sun will meet Jupiter in the sky and the pathway towards a more optimistic and more hopeful future becomes illuminated. It is now that we get to ask ourselves if what it is that we are hoping for, if our action is truly rooted in something pure within us, something that is oriented around knowing that we are moving in a direction that is in some way higher, in some way blessed, and in some way loving. If it isn't loving, that is your first alert that maybe this isn't the way in which you need to go about achieving your aim. And that's going to be part of the invitation now to ask ourselves, is it loving? Is it wise? Is this moving me in a direction that feels like it's going to be filled with opportunity? Or is this more about some other more base fear, some other more base need that you might have? I do think this questioning is very much part of the human experience. It's part of what we are here to do. And sometimes those questions seem a little bit more pronounced than they might otherwise. And I also think that Mars as an energy is very much a part of the human experience. In some ways, it is connected to our survival instinct. It is connected to our earliest experiences, but it's also a very embodied energy. It has to do with what you're feeling on a very immediate level, the way that energy and emotion is running through you on a physical level. And it has to do with getting in touch with a truth that you can feel. And that truth about yourself is ultimately what Mars helps you to understand. But the pathway towards that truth is usually through emotion, and sometimes strong emotion at that. Jupiter speaking with Mars now may magnify emotion in the air. It might also magnify a more impulsive energy that some of us may be feeling, and a feeling of some urgency. Where we want to be a little careful with this energy is where it comes to things like overpromising, where it comes to things like having heightened expectations. Now, there's nothing wrong with expecting great things. That's a good way to actually achieve them, to arrive at them. However, where it is that those expectations are not grounded in love and wisdom, that's where I think our learning tends to kick in a little bit more strongly. And so where it is that we can make that distinction, we will be using this energy that much more wisely. As we move towards Thursday, right around Thursday, is when the sun is going to move into the sign of Sagittarius. So happy birthday to all the Sagittarians out there. They start their birthday month now. And on the same day, almost immediately, we are going to have a full moon. Now, this full moon is happening in the sign of Gemini, and it is standing across the sky from the sun and Jupiter and a retrograde Mercury. We've also got Mars there as well. Mars is sort of standing off on the side, and these planets are forming what is called a T-square, which is a larger configuration of some tension, but also profound motivation as well. In many ways, I feel like the energy that starts earlier in the week, thanks to Mars and Jupiter, is going to reach a sense of fruition, a sense of culmination, and a sense of clarity, the kind of clarity that can only come from the light of the full moon, the kind of clarity that can only come through being more emotionally raw and more emotionally honest with ourselves. Now, because this full moon is in Gemini, and Gemini has to do with communications of all kinds. So whether that is the media, whether that is our random interactions with other people, whether that's social media and our interactions there, it can be phone calls. Some people don't really do phone calls so much anymore, but phone calls as well can be covered by this energy. And given how this full moon is interacting with other power players in the sky, it does suggest some very strong reactions to communications that can arise at this time. It also can suggest that conversations can seem larger than life. They can have a certain boisterous quality to them. I would also add with this, I might have mentioned already this term over-promising, heightened expectations. I've used these phrases so far because I do think that is part of this energy, whether it is us not realizing that that's what we are doing, or whether it is that that's what we're hearing from other people, and whether it is also our perception. Because much of the time, what we perceive is based on our own hopes and our own wishes and our own desires. And that may be part of how this energy is realized. But I do think for a lot of people out there, because conversation is so much a part of this full moon energy, it may very well be a conversation that in some way awakens that Mars energy, in some way doesn't feel sit right, doesn't feel as good as we would want it to feel. And that in turn leads us to ask ourselves questions as to what we really want and what is that more optimistic future, and are we willing to work towards it? What are we willing to do to actually move towards it? And sometimes the most powerful action you can take, as Mars in the sign of Pisces likes to remind us, the most powerful action is to have faith in divine timing, to have faith in yourself, to have faith in your future. This is the most powerful stance that we can take, the most powerful action that we can take to move our lives forward. And that may be the great power that is available to us now. As I said, we do have this retrograde Mercury being the ruling planet of the sign of Gemini, and it is a full moon at the very beginning of the sign of Gemini. I do feel like we are going to want to be a little bit mindful of the news that does reach us now, whether that is, again, through personal connections, whether it is through personal communications, whether in writing or in person, or whether it is through the actual media and what the news is talking about. Because there is that possibility here of different perspectives in what is being presented, and something being presented that is fact but is being presented as opinion, or is opinion but is being presented as fact. We're going to need just a little bit more time to feel like the truth is being more fully revealed. We may not have to wait that long. I do think there's a lot to look forward to with this dance that Jupiter and Mercury are going to be undertaking in the weeks ahead. Those are going to be real moments of clarity, real moments of understanding. So what now could be confusing? What now could feel like two sides very opposite to each other, and tension there may very well resolve itself. And a lot of it can resolve itself through agreements that are made. Now, of course, when we look at this energy, we can think of things like international agreements. I do think that in the weeks ahead, as not only the Sun dances with Jupiter, but also Mercury dances with Jupiter as well, we can expect some good news on the international front in terms of the relationships between countries can absolutely improve, and agreements can be made, especially where it is, and especially because right now we have a retrograde Mercury, where it is that agreements were tried before and then it didn't work out. This could be a good time to try again. But this also applies in our personal lives. Ultimately, I think of things like the relationships between nations as the macro to our micro. And our micro is our personal interactions with each other and the relationships we have in our own individual lives. They in some way reflect and represent these larger dynamics that can be at play. And so where is it in your own life that it might be a good idea to try again to reach an agreement? Or where is it now that it's hard for you to understand another perspective or someone else's side to things, or it feels a little bit like someone else is exaggerating? Can you own that within yourself? Can you consider where it is that you could be seen in that same light? This isn't the week where the resolution comes. That is coming just a little bit further down the road, as I said, in the weeks ahead. But at least for now, and at least for this moment, it can feel as if we are getting a sense of how things can be interpreted in different ways. And so it's a good idea not to take any communication at face value. It's a good idea to consider your own responses if you're having strong responses to any information or news or personal information that finds you as well, or conversations as well. This is your learning opportunity. And the opportunity ultimately is to root yourself in what it is that you know to be true about yourself, and root yourself in an understanding that so much of what we understand about others, about ourselves, is rooted in perception, is rooted in all the things that happened to us up until that very moment of that communication that have nothing to do with what is happening in that given moment. With a Mercury retrograde especially, we are reminded of it that much more. And where it is that more facts don't seem apparent, allow the time to go by so that that sense of knowing reveals itself to us. Now, I do think there's another way that this energy can play out as well, and that is in heightened expectations of others. And so there are times when we may ask for things, and then it's always up to the other person what they're going to do, and that has nothing to do with us. That's on them. There can be moments, especially with this full moon, whether it is someone making a request of you or you making a request of someone else, it's almost as if you are putting Jupiter in someone else's hands, or we in our own individual lives are giving away our Jupiter. And what I mean by that is ultimately the blessings that are going to be for you are going to be for you. The blessings that are yours are yours. I remember my dad used to say, until it's in your hand, it is not yours. It doesn't matter what promises are made. It doesn't matter what you think is going to happen. Until it is in your hands, it is not yours. And I think that this week reminds me of this. Whatever it is that is for you, of course, will find its way to you, but we can sometimes give away our power. We can think that if we are going to have something good happen in our lives, well, it is going to be as a result of what someone else does. And the truth is that no one else is responsible for your blessings, and no one else holds that key to your higher blessings. It is you. And it is only you that can decide that you are going to trust that there are blessings in the world for you, and that you are going to do your part to participate in their unfolding. And whoever it is, and all the people that there are, and all the infinite ways in which those blessings can be revealed to you, can find their way to you, they are ultimately the conduit. They are not the holders of the blessings. They are only one avenue from which those blessings may find you. And with this week, and with a week like this, it may very well be a good time to remind ourselves of this sacred truth. Opportunity is abundant. The universe is limitless. There are endless possibilities and endless opportunities. That is what Jupiter moving through the sign of Sagittarius is helping us to remember, is helping us to understand. It is when we think there is only one avenue, there is only one path, there is only one gate, and only one gatekeeper, that we actually hold ourselves back. And these can become excuses. Excuses that allow us to actually hold on to our own fears. The fear of actually trying a thing and not succeeding. Mars in Pisces is about cleansing us and empowering us to become more aware of our own fears and our self-imposed limitations. Jupiter in Sagittarius is about understanding how expansive we actually are. And this full moon in Gemini is going to help us to talk these things through. Now, whether that happens through a conversation that sort of shows up in a way that's unexpected to connect us to these very energies, or whether it is more gently. In some way, it is through the intellect now that a deeper healing can take place. What I love about this week for us is, look, it is the preparation, I must say. I really love that we are moving in a direction of clarity. That is a big part of this week. And we are getting in touch with where it is that we are truly wanting change and what it is that we are willing to do, and how that sits next to what feels right for us to do and why. This is how self-knowledge is won. It is something that is earned, but when earned, it gives us ourselves. It gives us self-respect, which truly is one of the great blessings of living a full life. Well, it is this sky now that is reminding us to share that journey, to talk things out, and to share where it is that we are growing and we are learning. But ultimately, all growth is always in the direction, whether personally or collectively, towards greater love and greater wisdom as well. Well, thank you so much for watching. I'm so grateful for it. And what are you loving about this week? What are you excited about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I absolutely love reading you guys. I've been loving interacting with you guys in the YouTube comments. So let me know. I'm looking forward to reading you. And if you want to find out what all this wonderful stuff this week means for you in your sign, you can log on to nadiyashah.com, sign up to be one of my superstars. And superstars get expanded, exclusive video scopes each and every week, unlimited access to special horoscopes, and so much more. All of this in the superstar space. I look forward to meeting you there. And special horoscopes, of course, are on my website as well, nadiyashah.com. Thank you so much to everyone who has purchased a Jupiter special horoscope. Jupiter newly in a very powerful position in the sky, and your trust means so much to me. So thank you so much for your love and for your trust and for you reaching out and wanting that Jupiter special. Thank you for that. The new year is right around the corner, and I have a lot of events coming up that I'm really very excited about. On the 29th of January, I will be in Las Vegas, hosted by the NCGR Stargazers group there. And I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun in Vegas. We're actually going to be celebrating my birthday as well. So that will even add that much more to the fun energy in the air. And we'll be talking about karma and love. I will rush back to Mexico, and I will be teaching as part of a larger transformative week that is taking place here in Xixim, not far from Cancun. And this is a week that is being put on by Maurice Fernandez, renowned evolutionary astrologer. I will be teaching there on February the 2nd, but it is part of a larger week, an immersive spiritual astrological journey that we will be going on together collectively, and especially the group that gathers there as part of this spiritual experience. It involves the brightest lights we are going to have at that time. 3 planets in the sign of Sagittarius. So there's a lot to look forward to, and a real sense of expansion and growth, and a real optimistic energy that is going to be there, and a real healing energy that's going to make learning that much more conducive, that much more possible. I think it's going to be an incredible journey for everyone involved, and I'm so grateful to be some part of it. So you can learn about that as well. And just a little heads up, in May, I am going to be in Vancouver and in Seattle. Labor Day weekend, I'm going to be in Baltimore. So there's so much coming up, and you can visit the events page on my website to learn more and for all the links and all of that. And I look forward to hugging. I am looking forward to hugging friends and fans in person. I absolutely love it. I was at an event a few weeks ago, and even before I got there, like en route to there, before I even got on the train to go into the city in Toronto, I had people coming up to me and saying, "Are you Nadiya Shah?" And the first thing I would do when they said that is I would hug them, because I would just feel like, wow, it was just such a lovely reminder that my work is reaching people, and that really does mean so much to me. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, whether we connect online and in the digital world, whether you are one of the friends and fans who watch me regularly, or if this is your first time here. I am truly grateful for this moment with you. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.